Mask on, smiling eyes. Why do you always do it that way? The irritated voice of my colleague made me shut down. Oh, wait a minute. Where's this coming from? I thought. My morning started as usually. 5:40 wake-up alarm, exercise, and a small breakfast. Then eternal struggle to get to the bus stop on time. 30 minutes among the sleepy mass of dark coats, and finally, mask on my face, smiling eyes. I'm at work. Monday, the loveliest day of the week, when teachers have to attend 2 board meetings where everyone should pretend to be enthusiastic and full of energy. Are you kidding me? I made my way into the assembly room, took a seat next to my colleague, who has just recovered from a flu, so his cold greeting, or in fact inadequate indifference, didn't catch my attention. His favor was on the constant hook of his mood anyway. Despite this, I was pleased about the fact that he was present, so I didn't have to cover his duties or send my TA to help out with his class. Phew, the day started well. Mask on my nose, smiling eyes. Few announcements that could actually be emailed, and I headed back into my room. Thousands of little tasks were buzzing to and fro in my mind as I was making a spontaneous plan for our Christmas video clip. Bingo! I knew what I do. My imagination played each scene and all details over and over again. And the only thing was just to figure out what background music to choose. All I want for Christmas is you. Da 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 da. Rhythmic, popular, kids loved it, good choice. But first I had to check if no one else was going to use it. Good morning, Eric. I was bubbly and joyful. Or something like that was the answer. What background music are you going to use for your video clip? I was trying to sound as neutral as possible. What? What video clip? I quickly explained what each team was expected to present, and the next couple of phrases were just a slap on my face. Why do you always do it that way? Why do you always have something extra and make things longer than you are asked? Why? Rang in my ears, and I realized that I was being told off not because I did something wrong, but because I did it better. No, much better than my experienced expert male colleague. I was shocked. I couldn't even think that the morning indifference was just the curtain for a raging whirlwind that was fed on personal insecurities. All those why questions truly were, how did you dare to change the plan without Eric's approval? How did you dare not to listen to him? How did I dare not to agree with him? I was standing in front of Eric, listening to his accusing whys. However, I knew for sure the true reason of his irritation. Picking on my work like that was the most pathetic way of a man's hurt pride expressing itself. This was highly unprofessional and quite unexpected. When I finally left the room, I didn't know either to cry or to laugh. The whole day I was trying to analyze what wrong I did. But my inner voice carried on comforting me. This all is just the sign that you are on the right track. Keep doing what you do, Kate, and keep doing it well, even if an experienced expert male colleague discourages you. So I listened to it, and I finished all the Christmas preparations successfully. When men show their strength by diminishing women physically, religiously, economically, or even intellectually, it means that they are not men, they are still children. We as women should not be afraid to be stronger, smarter, or richer. We should continue to shine brightly. Mask on, smiling eyes. By Ekaterina Surayeva. They say that time heals. However, I experienced that time is not a great doctor. He is a great witness. This unlimited collection of events, memories, and feelings that never passes away, just fades for a while. God and humans are the only ones who share the same characteristics to bury the testimonies of time or to bring them to life. Time could not heal my heart. Sometimes he was my greatest accuser, sometimes my greatest judge, but that day he became my greatest releaser. It was a wonderful chance to spend a couple of days in the mountains, to fill my lungs and thoughts with fresh air instead of the monotone routine of school life. In my second year of teaching, I was just a bit bigger teen than my students, bigger physically, certainly not emotionally. Since my mom's death 6 months before, the threads of guilt, shame, and anger that were stretching throughout all my childhood became one big ball of confusion. Just like my students, I hungrily enjoyed every moment of playing outside in the huge open area of the mountain camp. After dinner, we gathered in the auditorium with withered curtains, smell of dampness, and rows of old chairs. Our assembly started with songs, and it was then when I was caught into this half-dream. It was at the back row, so nobody even realized that time became timeless. As long as I remember myself, my mom was ill. Her diagnosis was my prison that held me away from close relationship with her for all these years. I was dreaming her to teach me about my first period, to start using makeup, and to go shopping together. But instead, I had to be always on alert in case her feet start again. She could lose consciousness anywhere, anytime. When it happened at home, I had to catch her, otherwise she could burn herself while cooking. Eventually, my dad banned her from cooking and even to be in the kitchen. Other times, my mom fainted in the street, and I had to run to help her to rise and to check how badly she was hurt this time. I was ashamed to have such a mom, and I was ashamed to admit that I felt that way. My magic world of carelessness and the joy of just being a child was constantly pierced by the painful strikes of adulthood reality and unbearable, unwanted responsibility. So that evening, I finally received freedom. Disappearing in the echoes of my students' singing, I found myself encountering my grief for the loss of Mom. Though she has never become a friend for me, the time took me back by my hand into his kingdom of memory and started revealing her heart towards me. Flashbacks from my childhood filled my inner vision screen. There my mom cooked a birthday cake. There she smiled in approval of me. There she supported me to choose my future career. And there she was healthy and happy. Instead of her distorted by pain face, it changed by the loss of her self-voice. That was sealed in my memories for so many years. I encountered my mom in the bright light of her measureless kindness and care for me. Deep sigh of release. Eventually, why so late? Instinctively, my hands found a piece of paper and I began to write. I was writing a letter to her. At that very moment, I knew Mom was watching me. My fingers flew across the white pages, wet from my tears, as I asked her to forgive me and told how terribly I missed her. I did not hear or see anyone around, just my mom looking at me from above, and light, indescribable, peaceful light that reigned all over the place. After completing my last phrase with goodbye and thank you, that serene stream of little by little began to move away from me, leaving in my heart the truth that I have been always longing to know, the truth that I have always been loved. They say time heals. However, I experienced that time can unite hearts, even when illness or death tries so hard to separate them. By Ekaterina Surayeva. Echoes of walls. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. I repeated these words of prayer over and over that night, rolling into the embryo position on the couch on my first night in the rented apartment. My voice was weak, full of doubts, often interrupted by sobbing. Only the walls heard it and echoed back the unfamiliar whisperings of my soul. It was the beginning of a season when I had to learn to trust again. How are you going to live on your own? How can you leave your father? What if you fail your course? What if you can't find a different job? What are you going to do if something will go wrong with your surgery? I stepped into the sandy ground and had no idea where my choice will bring me. The summer came with its heat, early sunrises, and birds chirping in the morning. The first week of my training began and brought back the extremely stressful and occupying lifestyle. But I was happy because it didn't give me space or time to regret about my bold decisions. I loved being kind of a student again after so many years of teaching. I felt a fresh wind of learning something new. Besides, my students were so ambitious and responsible that I fed on their energy and hopes for the future. 2 weeks later, I received the first praise from my tutor. "How do you do that?" she asked during the time of self-reflection. The question caught me surprised. I didn't realize that my performance was considered as good. I thought it was not too bad. Most of the 50 boxes of the course requirements were swiftly marked with pluses. It made me happy, but thrilled with the thought of keeping the reached platform of success. CELTA is a good test for all participants. Test not all for knowledge or great teaching ideas, but for humility, devotion, and self-discipline. The hardest time was when people who can be younger, less experienced, and quite unpleasant give you feedback. Here you go. Let's check you for stiffness, Kate. The closer it was to the end, the tougher everyone got. No more smiles or lunches together, just eyes glued to the computer screens and the monotone sound of the copy machine. 2 of my teammates have just signed the notification that they might fail the course, so regular shared routines were burdened on me to give them time to catch up with their work. 2 days before my last lesson observation, I almost broke down. I spent most of the morning at the toilet and was pretty dehydrated. Stress let me know about itself. Then receiving last feedback from my teammates and the tutor, last pass for the assignment, final organization of all paperwork, and I could breathe out. Phew! I ran several tracks in my life, however, CELTA was the most challenging. I was closely scanned as a teacher, a team player, a colleague, and even as a human. The awareness that I have passed not only the course, but also one of the hardest life lessons gave me appreciation for myself. Well done, Kate. You can be proud of your work. The summer was coming to the end, with its bounty choice of fruits, tan skin, and lively evening streets. My eye surgery went well. I even managed to travel with my dad. A friend of mine offered a better paid job, and I could see that my choice did not bring me to less sandy ground. On the opposite, it changed the perspective view on myself. 3 months later, the walls of my rented apartment were singing back to me. This time it was a victorious song. He brought me out into a spacious place. He makes my feet like feet of a deer. He enables me to stand on the heights. By Ekaterina Surayeva.